What's up, everyone? Welcome into a special edition of DodgerHeads presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, and we've got a quick hitter today updating you on a big story that's breaking in Major League Baseball on Monday morning, which is the Miami Marlins have had an outbreak of COVID-19 on their team. Let me catch you up a little bit on the rundown and how all of this has gone down. On Friday, the Marlins learned of their first positive test. 2 days later, 3 more players tested positive. Yesterday, there was big debate about whether the Marlins would play the Phillies, having learned that 4 of their players, 1 pitcher, 3 starters, had all tested positive. They decided to go through and play the game. Well, today, the news broke that the Marlins had 7 or 8, depending on where you look, more players test positive, as well as 2 players. So about 1/3 of the traveling party for the Marlins has tested positive. As a result, 2 games for tonight, Monday night, have been postponed, not canceled. That's the language they're using, postponed. One is the one involving the Marlins, and the other is involving the Phillies, who they played yesterday. The Yankees coming in were a little concerned, rightfully so, about using the same clubhouse. So what do we do with all this? MLB hops on a conference call this morning at 9:30 a.m. There are reports that never once did the idea of canceling the season come up, which is a little bit crazy to me, if I'm being honest. Now, if you've been watching our show, you'll know that myself, Daniel, Matt, anybody who's been on here have been incredibly skeptical of MLB's plan all along. The biggest reason being there's no bubble. The idea that these teams are going to hop on planes, get in hotels, and spend all this time together and things were going to go great was crazy. People are comparing it to, look how the NBA is doing, look how MLS is doing. Those are all bubbles. The MLB has exposed themselves to unbelievable amounts of risk, and guess what? That risk is coming back to bite them. Now, the question is, what are they going to do from now? There are people calling for Rob Manfred to cancel the season. There are people calling for Rob Manfred to resign or be fired. Neither of those things, I think, are going to happen. But I will say, I think we are infinitely closer to that possibility now. This is issue number 1. My guess is that there is an issue number 2. To this degree, I think the season's going to be canceled. Now, some people are saying it's COVID. These guys are going to be fine. Keep in mind, the Red Sox have a pitcher, Eduardo Rodriguez, who tested positive for COVID-19 and is now having heart problems. Heart problems. This is a healthy guy. Jeff Passan was tweeting the other day about a 40-year-old scout for the Diamondbacks, 40 years old, who passed away due to COVID. The Orioles manager is talking about how concerned he is as a guy who's older and in the sort of the demographic of people that have to be more concerned. So this is a massive deal. 1/3 of the team has tested positive for the Miami Marlins. Now, all of those guys may be asymptomatic. All of those guys might end up being fine, but the level of risk has all of a sudden become real. I would not be shocked in the coming days if a couple players bow out, recognizing how risky it is. I mean, one of the things that some people have been saying, they set all these guidelines, no high fives, no spitting. Nobody's obeying them. There's tons of guys in the dugout without masks on. There's tons of guys spitting. There's tons of guys high-fiving. All of that may seem insignificant, but then that's how this spreads, right? The Phillies played the Marlins. Most people would say the Phillies are not at risk of catching it from the Marlins as a result of this. And yet the Marlins themselves are spreading it amongst the team, and that is where the real danger is. Then you have a team like the Yankees who comes in and shares a clubhouse. That's how this thing gets crazy. That's how this thing gets out of control. And I just really do think this is a bigger deal than Major League Baseball. Now, David Price, the Dodgers, came out today and tweeted basically saying part of the reason I'm not playing is because I never once believed that MLB had the players' health as their primary concern. And hey, guess what? My fears are being proven right now. And so I think there's something to that. I do think he's right. And I do think this is a concern for baseball. So it'll be really fascinating to see. But I would say this is a massive, massive deal. I think the possibility of a season getting canceled, we're infinitely closer to that moment today than we were. Now, we're 4 days into the season. We've already had 1 outbreak. Will they tighten things up? Will teams get a little more strict about what is allowed, what isn't allowed? I don't know, but at this point, I would be very, very concerned about whether or not Major League Baseball can continue. So with that, check out DodgerBlue.com for all the latest. We'll have updates on this as well as everything else. As of today, the Dodgers are traveling to Houston for Tuesday and Wednesday night's games against the Astros. Those should be fun, but again, it's the Dodgers' first time getting on a plane. It's the Dodgers' first time having to go stay in a hotel this season, so we'll see how that goes. Daniel and I will actually be on tomorrow night, Tuesday night, right after the Astros game for a live edition of DodgerHeads. So check us out on Facebook, on Periscope, and on YouTube as well. And with that, we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.